Hello and welcome to Say Yes to You and Why You Don't. I am Claudia Braun, mindset and lifestyle coach for women who are great at saying yes to others, but not necessarily as great at saying yes to themselves. So we are in the end of the 6-week wellness series, and today we are looking at this spiritual piece. Last week we were talking about creativity and its power to transform us, and if you haven't listened, I hope you will listen in. And today we're going to talk about another aspect of the spiritual aspect of ourselves and how we can develop it and bring more of it into our life to bring greater ease and well-being to our body and our minds. And if you haven't downloaded the 3 hacks to own your yes, now is a really good time to do that. And you can go to www.freebie.claudia-braun.com, www.freebie.claudia-braun.com, and I will also put a link in the show notes. So let's talk about this idea of our spirituality. And many times when I work with clients, this is an aspect of themselves that is usually not very developed. So when I start working with my clients, I help them to look at the areas of their life that are in balance and out of balance, because it matters, right? Those areas of our life that are out of balance are going to cause us to not feel good. They're not going to cause us to not feel happy. They're going to cause us to feel more negative emotion. They're going to cause us to feel more exhausted. They're going to hold us back from feeling like we are living on purpose, like we are living the life that we are supposed to live. As people say, I just don't necessarily feel good in my skin. So that ability that we have to feel good in our skin, right? That ability that we have to feel ease in our life, to feel at calm, to feel at peace, to feel connected to who we are. So when this area of our life, this spiritual aspect of our life, is underdeveloped, not looked at, not invested in, when I say invested in, we are investing in ourselves with our time, with our financial resources, with our attention. So any one of those areas, we're not investing our time, our attention, our resources, financial resources into developing it, it makes sense, it's not going to grow, right? And so this is really looking at how can we bring more to this aspect of ourselves. How can we deepen our connection to our spiritual selves? How can we know our spiritual self better? How can we bring more life, more energy, more awareness to this area of ourselves so that it assists us to feel the way we want to feel? And every time I do a call with somebody that I'm about to work with, they almost invariably say they want to feel happier, they want to feel calmer, they want to feel more peace, they want to feel more joy in their life than they're currently feeling. And if you're listening in and hearing these words, this is for you. If you think about your life and you don't have the kind of happiness, the kind of joy, the kind of peace, the kind of calm in your life that you wish you have, this is an area of your life that you want to really start to spotlight and look at. And it is an aspect of my client's life that they always develop in their work with me, and that regardless of what brings them to me, it's an area of their life that they start to learn more about as they start to take better care of themselves. We underdevelop this area of ourselves the more we say yes to things that we wish we didn't, the more that our, as we talked about before, in our wellness series about when we allow the pleaser, hyperachiever, this aspect of ourselves that wants to sabotage us, when we allow that self-sabotage to run us, it deprives us of this aspect of ourselves. And here's the thing that I share with my clients is that these sabotage patterns are our childhood strategy to survive. And when we're in survival mode, we're not really thinking about, wow, what's going to give me joy? What's going to make me happy? What's the thing that is going to really expand me? We're looking to just make it through, right? We want to make it. We want to make sure that we protect ourselves. Very different aspect of ourselves, being in survival mode versus being in, how can I thrive? How can I be happy? How can I live my purpose? How can I live feeling fantastic in my skin? How can I feel more authentically me? How can I step out of this imposter syndrome? These are the things that people work with me around, these negative aspects of themselves, because they've been living in this survival mode. And that survival mode, like I said, is going to squash this spiritual aspect because it's not being paid attention to. When we're in survival mode, we're not thinking about, how do I develop a deeper connection with myself? How do I develop a deeper sense of calm? Because when we are in survival mode, we usually are not calm. We're not calm. We're anxious. We're fearful, because when you're in protection mode, you're protecting yourself from what's going to happen next. You want to be a good strategist. So my work with my clients is helping them to be a good strategist while staying in center, in their true, authentic self, because they make the most aligned steps. You take action that is in alignment with who you truly want to be, not in who you think you should be. And so that's the distinction that I'm going to make with this area of our wellness. Our spiritual connection means that we drop out of this cerebral thinking mind. We have these great minds that can work for us or against us. And when this brain mind, cerebral mind, is in control, overused and abused, it cuts us off from our heart. It cuts us off from our inner desire. And usually the work I do with my clients, when they drop out of this place into this place, they start to feel some emotion, some sadness, some tears of how long they've cut themselves off from truly listening and knowing themselves. And that's the gift that we give ourselves when we start to bring light, bring voice to our spirituality. And that's why I make this an important piece of my coaching practice and this wellness series, because the first week of the wellness series, we talked about, what are you eating? What are you ingesting? And in our culture, that is what we tend to focus on. What are you ingesting? How are you moving your body? Important aspects. And when we discard, don't pay attention to this connection, this spiritual connection, this connection to our inner self, this connection to something bigger than ourselves, we lose out on a very important aspect of our personal well-being. And I would say not just our personal well-being, but our well-being in connection to our greater purpose, our being here, our connection to all beings who we are in life with. Because that's what happens when we start to develop this spiritual aspect of ourselves. We become more dimensional There's more to us. Because here's the thing, there's so much more to us than just this flesh and skin. When our spirit stops coming through us, basically, we're just a vessel. There's nothing going on. And you see it when I had the experience of walking around a hospital last week. A family member of mine was in the hospital, and I was walking around, and I happened to notice as I walked past some of these rooms in the hospital, and I saw where people were just shells, just their bodies, no spirit, no life force, no connection, just a body. And I could see nothing really going on there. And so to truly keep us in this alive feeling of loving life and loving who we are and who we are here to be, it means that we are willing to develop and really explore all aspects of ourselves. There is a line that I have heard that Benjamin Franklin would share with people after he would come back to visit with them that hadn't seen them in a while, and he would say to them, "What have you learned about yourself since I last saw you?" Most of us don't ask that. We say, "How are you doing?" Right? "How do you feel?" Or, "How's your health?" Right? Like, we don't really, but what have you learned about yourself? What do you now know about yourself? And I know that the deeper and the more willing I am to develop a connection with something bigger than myself, take pause, take time to go within, I know more about myself. I know that my providing space for my clients and their ability to speak about themselves, to get underneath the surface of what they're talking about and help them understand and help them see sometimes it's what they're not talking about that holds the greatest power. And so helping them to have a wider perspective, a wider viewpoint, brings in this spiritual component that so many times we in our culture just don't have a practice of asking people about, connecting to, making time for. And I'd say that that's the thing. It's what we're used to. That's it. We tend to cling to that which we know. And for many people, they don't know much about their connection to their spiritual life. It feels so foreign. And yet there are some people I talk to who just know that is something that is very important to them, or it's something that they haven't paid much attention to, but they know they really want to because they're aware it's something that's missing in their life. So wherever you are on this continuum, know that this is a conversation of kind of seeing, where do you fall in this road? Where are you on this road? And where do you want to travel to? And how can this assist you in moving further down the road? Because here's the thing, none of us stand still. That's just not possible. We're either moving forward or falling back. So when we have that inner sense of stuck, I say I'm going to do something, I don't make any progress, that experience, that thinking is because you're continuing to practice the same thing over and over and nothing different is coming in. And so then there's that feeling of actually falling back, not standing in place. You're actually kind of feeling like you're just treading water, and then the more you tread, the further back you go. What your spiritual practice can do is help you to develop a deeper sense about yourself, feeling that sixth sense of feeling like you can rely on deeper wisdom, deeper guidance, additional guidance. Like when you start to feel yourself getting stuck or negative feeling, negative thinking, worry kicks in, struggle kicks in, frustration kicks in, that's an indication you're working too hard, you're overthinking it. And from that mind, you will feel Groundhog Day, same thing every day, feels the same, or that Einstein doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, that thinking. So how do you shift out of that? And that is the time where I teach my clients about taking the purposeful pause. Because in our culture, we have that thinking, you need to just keep busy, just keep doing, right? I mean, how many people, and if you are a woman who is saying yes to everybody else, you got a long list. Very easy to overextend yourself and feel like there's absolutely no time. I gave a workshop on Saturday, and that's what women were saying, right? One of the reasons why I don't say yes to myself is I don't have enough time. That's the thought. That's the negative thing that's going to stop you. Know that that negative thought, I don't have enough time, will never get you to where you want to go. So know that if it's a thought that's not going to get you to where you want to go, you got to acknowledge it. That's part of shifting. And part of shifting is part of being able to understand where you're at so that you can do something different, be somebody different. So if you're somebody who constantly says to yourself, not enough time, busy, 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 got to keep up, don't have enough time. Okay, that's in your way. And that is actually the time to get curious. And I believe our spirituality is about slowing down. It's about getting curious. It's about questioning the status quo. That thought in your mind that says, I don't have enough time. Or I was raised with can't, don't, won't, never happens, never works. Like all of those phrases, you can attach tons of beliefs on top of them, tons of way of doing things, but they will always stop you from moving forward and doing and experiencing anything different. And as you're listening and you're thinking, but I don't want to stay exactly the way I am. I want things to be different. I'd like to feel better. I'd like to make changes. That's where really being able to start to put a pause and become curious, explore. The antidote to this push, 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 got to get more done, don't have enough time, is contrary action. What is contrary action? Contrary action means doing the opposite of what you think you should do. Your mind is going to say, I don't have enough time. I don't have time to sit. I was just on somebody else's podcast, and what I said, way for people to get started, is to take a 5-minute pause. And they both said, that's exactly what my mind tells me I can't do. I start thinking about when I sit down, all I think about is all the things I need to get done. Okay, become a very curious anthropologist. And what a curious anthropologist does is it explores. It says, what do people here do? What are they like? What is their culture like? What are their daily habits like? What do they think? What do they eat? Get curious about yourself, because you know yourself in this way, and all of these ideas about yourself, all the ways in which you operate, go unquestioned. You just accept that's the way I am. But I invite you to question, is that how I need to be? Get curious about that. Is that serving me? If you're constantly telling yourself you don't have enough time, imagine what happens if you question that. Gandhi said, the busier I am, the longer I make time to meditate. Because Gandhi knew he needed time to be able to show up for his busy life. And he needed time to show up in a clear-minded way. When we run thing to thing, this task, that person, do, there's no joy. There's no connection to love. It's harsh. It makes no room for curiosity, for fun, for the undiscovered. When you allow yourself to get curious, take a pause, go within, step away, you allow yourself to open up to an idea that hadn't come into your mind before. When you're doing, you're stuck in a rut. You're stuck in a pattern. That's how it always has to be. You don't ask the questions. You don't get curious. You just go with status quo. And the more you open up to possibilities, what would happen if? What if I step back? What happens? What if I don't rush in and try to fix something? What if I step back and let somebody else take over? What if I let them do it their way? What if I wait 5 minutes before I respond? What if you give yourself permission to discover what happens, what you learn about yourself? There is a challenge that people have that I've noticed, it's true for me as well. In going, to stop and be creates an initial feeling of fear, anxiety, uncertainty. It's not familiar. And so many times people don't want to do it. And so what I really encourage people to do is take it slow, take 5 minutes, maybe take a walk, maybe bring out a journal and write down the feelings that come up, the thoughts that come up. But let yourself not act on anything, but just be present to them. Or turn on background music and just put a timer on and let yourself see how it feels to sit and notice what you are not wanting to feel, because that too gives you information. In a culture that believes that doing more is the antidote, it is uncomfortable to do the opposite, where you say, no, I'm going to give myself permission to slow down, to pause. And what I know, to truly tap into your own inner peace, calm, joy, spirit, it means that you give yourself this experience. And people always say, at the end of their life, they don't wish they did more. They wished they just allowed themselves to enjoy more. And so you do not have to wait till you get sick, end of your life. You get an opportunity to do it now and make choice for yourself. And that's what this taking time to pause, go within, take a spiritual break gives you permission to do. Be back at choice so that you are acting from a place of true desire of who you want to be, not who you think you should be, or someone you think you have to be because that's just who you are. Know that you get to be who you choose to be. And you only find that out by being willing to take a pause and go within. So I thank you for being here with me today. And I am Claudia Braun, mindset and lifestyle coach for women who are great, saying yes to others, not so great at saying yes to themselves. And again, if you have not downloaded the 3 hacks to own your yes, I invite you to do that because I will walk you through this practice of being able to say yes to you with a greater sense of well-being and help you move through these internal challenges that you may be experiencing. And again, to get that, go to www.freebie.claudia-braun.com, www.freebie.claudia-braun.com, and I will look forward to being with you next week on Say Yes to You. And we will be going into the next aspect of saying yes to you on this journey. Bye for now.